I started my master's in an MBO and I was looking for some opportunity to transition into genomics. As forest is severely affected with Dieback disease, and just in Norway, it was first recorded in 2008. And in 2010, the status of ash forest in Norway is it's near threatened. And in 15, it's vulnerable, and in 2021, it's endangered species. So why it became endangered is the mortality rate with ash dieback is really high. It's almost 74% with very low regeneration. And this low regeneration combined with high mortality pushed this minority forest, which represents less than 1% of the forest in Norway, at the brink of almost extinction.
Ash is not just a species that is at risk, but like it's a keystone species in ecosystem. And there are more than one of the research recorded, like there are more than 483 species that are directly associated with ash forest, and 23% of them have relative preference over ash, and 11% have absolute preference over ash. So this is that like more than 125 species would be endangered with the loss of this forest. So it has like cascading effect of extinction if this ash forest is lost. So it will have multiple effects in conservation if we lost the ash forest. So it's very important that we conserve this one of the keystone species. One of the fact about restoration is that like picking up highly selected plant species in plantation might risk loss of genetic diversity because they are highly selected plant materials. So one of the idea of my thesis is to make sure that genetic diversity of forest is conserved while implementing this as trial. So I am genotyping the material that are to be planted in the ash forest, and also the plant species, plant materials that exist in the natural forest. And I will compare the diversity in both the plantation materials and the plants from natural regeneration, and compare whether there is any differences in genetic diversity or not. And not only that, I'll also compare my data with already existing data that was collected in 2012 and see like if there has been any genetic erosion after the dieback. And I'll also calculate the number of plants that needs to be planted so as to maintain the same level of genetic diversity as it occurs in a natural state. So I hope to find what level of diversity exists in the materials that are planned to be planted in natural forest. And I also will calculate the optimum number of plant materials that needs to be planted in order to restore the same level of genetic diversity, so that no genetic erosion, no loss of genetic diversity will be lost even after the plantation. So that's my expected outcome of my thesis, but yeah, it's still underway. It's disastrous to think that the forest species that we have enjoyed the loftiness about a decade ago is gone entirely at a matter of 10 years. I am always optimistic about it, and since there has been some consortia of work going on to restore the ash forest, and there are many trials that are going on, and even after the plantation and after my thesis is over, NIBIO, I think will continue monitoring the status of planted materials.
And thanks to NordGen SNS Scholarship for providing this grant fellowship to me.